Evening to all of you. Good evening and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and I welcome you to the feature news for 15th November 2021. The feature news for today is on drug abuse and the abuse of law itself. So good evening to Netra, good evening Kriti, hello Ashish, hello Sam, hello Bhavani. How are you? All right, welcome back each of you. All right. So before we get into this discussion of drug abuse, let me ask you a very simple question. Do you think that drug problem in our country is an actual problem, or is it an issue that has been created because of the government? Because the government has illegalized certain kind of psychotropic, psychoactive substances. Let me ask you the question again. Is it that drug abuse is a real problem in our country, or is it that it is because of the governance? The government says that it is illegal and that is why it has been made illegal. Let me ask you that question. It's a matter of opinion and nothing is right, nothing is wrong. Just a matter of opinion, personal opinion. Tell me that. Hi, Amlan. Hi. All right. Now, the answer to this question that I feel is partly both the ways, right? So, this is a very personal opinion. Drug abuse is a menace. That is absolutely correct. This is one side of the answer. The other side is the government itself, the law itself. Right, the law itself tries to criminalize the act of taking drugs. Right, instead of calling a person a victim, the law calls it as a person who is the accused. Right, a person could be a victim as well of drug abuse. Right, so it could actually present both the sides of the story, provided you are ready to look at both the sides. Right, so Vivek says it is the actual problem. Right, Bhavani says actual problem. And Amlan says actual problem. Yeah, it is a problem, absolutely. But there is a small side to the other side of the story as well. The person who started taking these drugs, they were not inborn as the person who would take drugs, right? They were not inborn intoxicant. But it happened during the course of time, right? So we will understand what is what actually creates a person who starts to take drugs, right? So on one side of this article, we have presented very beautifully 4-5 key pointers what is the cause because of which a person becomes drug addict, right? So the first one is environmental factors, right? Dysfunctional households, so many aspirations that we want to achieve and we are not able to achieve. My own uncle, he wanted to become a police officer, he did not become, and he became a drug addict, right? His son later also joined him because it was the family surrounding. So substance abuse is a result of environmental factors, dysfunctional household, impoverished neighborhoods, right? This is one important cause. Social support for substance abuse. See, who refuses? In our society, nobody refuses in society places. People say, all right, he's handling, let them handle, right? So there is a social indirect support and direct support as well. There is a community which is always in support of doing this, right? Be it a rural area, be it an urban area, be it a poorer household or be it a richer household. People do not want to do it in isolation. People want to do it in society. So social support is always there. And let me ask you, how many social support groups do you see against drugs? It is not prevalent in a country like India, right? So similarly, learned behavior, right? So certain theory says that humans learn from the behavior of the other person. This is especially applicable for small children. They watch and they start to think, all right, probably this is helping the other person. Taking drugs is making them happier. They are more happy. So this is the kind of behavior they start to aspire for and they start to take those drugs, right? So that is called as a choice theory, right? So people feel that they always have a choice and this will make their life better. So let's take this, right? Some people have this addictive personality. Taken once, taken twice, taken thrice, and this is how it becomes an addiction, right? So some people also feel that this is like self-medication. I'm medicating myself and I'm becoming joyful and I'm being jolly, so let me do this, right? But it's slowly and steadily, it becomes a necessity for our blood, for the neurons, for the neurological systems. There are various reasons why people take this. They were not born with this. However, there were systemic changes that happened to their life. One could be the personal life. See how I draw this? Personal life, social spaces, right? Then ideological inclinations, what I want to do, what I want to aspire for, and whether whatever I have done has been recognized or not. Anybody can fall in this trap. And availability of drugs, right? So these are many factors which link and results, in the creation of a person who is a drug addict. But naturally, they probably were not like this, right? And look at the law. The law also in India, I'm not criticizing the law. All I'm saying is to have an open perspective. The law also says that that person is a druggist, drug addict. Rather than saying that they want to rehabilitate, the government also somehow penalizes them, right? Instead of giving them a space for them to grow again, right? So why am I presenting both the perspectives? It is because there might be places where you will have to balance the answer. Both the sides have to be indicated, right? If it is about criticism, then you will present the whole criticism in the body, but you will appreciate the act towards the end. If it is about making the important changes, then you will recommend the changes and also say what is the essential reason for making these kind of changes, right? So now let me read out some important remarks from other people. So Ashish says it is not a huge problem, but it can rise to higher levels. So government curtailment is also important. Absolutely, curtailment is important. Sam says, I think everyone who are using drug must be accountable. Okay, absolutely, absolutely. Why not? What about ganja consumption by saints? All right, this is a good question. Then we have Kriti saying peer pressure, that also results in it. Yeah. So there are times when people are held accountable also. They are held accountable. We will not go personal, but we will see it in the form of social reasons also why these things happen, right? Now presently there are three types of drugs, right? One is the party drugs, the second one is prescription drugs, and the third one is inhalants. So artificial drugs which are chemically created, right? Synthetic drugs. So we have many of synthetic drugs, and let us not name them right now. Natural drugs, prescribed drugs, which are the one which have been prescribed, what can be taken and what can not be. Party drugs are the one which are recreational drugs. Now developed countries like America, some countries in Europe, they have legalized the taking of very, very small quantities of drugs for party purposes, for recreation purposes, but only small quantity, recreation purposes. This is what they call as, right? So certain states in America have legalized these drugs. See, that is the level of human development they have achieved. They want people to live freely of the natural, these kind of drugs available in the natural sphere. See, what is growing naturally, of course, people have right to have it. This is what they think, right? So Arpit also raises an important point: costly, dopamine overdose, right? Kriti says. So in fact, tea itself is a psychoactive substance. Coffee itself is a psychoactive substance. If you take them in a proportion, more than required proportion, they will also develop intoxication. In fact, the limited amount quantity that we take, that also tea itself is a psychoactive substance. Psychoactive, it increases the brain power, right? So each of them are addictive, and they are also those particles, the leaves only, just like other leaves, right? So if you can look at it from that perspective, if you can look at it from the perspective of a person who is a part of society, not been accepted by people, and given the dosage for once, and then gotten addicted, and the whole social peer pressure. So this is one perspective to it, right? Other perspective to it is, yes, they should be held accountable, and they should also be brought under the justice, right, court of law under this. So that is the reason that countries around the world, they met and they had this international convention. India is a party to 3 of these conventions on drug prevention, right? Drug prevention, psychoactive substance prevention, and narcotics prevention, right? And that is the reason that we have an NCB, Narcotics Control Bureau, under the control of the central government directly, and they investigate all the cases of narcotics, psychoactive drugs related to in our country, right? But the reason that India faces this menace is because, let me show you the image. The reason is this: India is present in between these countries, the countries which are called as the countries which are called as the Golden Crescent and the Golden Triangle. If you can look at this image, this clearly speaks of, if you are able to see, yes, you are able to see. So the Golden Crescent is the one with Iran, Pakistan and Afghanistan. This is the place where a good amount of drug is actually created naturally, right? So poppy cultivation happens. And then another group of countries here is the Golden Triangle, right? Golden Triangle includes Myanmar, Thailand and Laos, those countries here. So these countries, and both the countries, and India is the one which is sandwiched between them. Why not will India have more sale and production of these drugs? This is the reason that Punjab has the drug menace. In fact, you can also relate to the drones with the transport of drugs across the border, both the sides, in the northeast as well, in western India as well. And that is the reason that India faces this kind of issue. India naturally itself does not have many places where these drugs can be cultivated, but nearby countries have. And then we also have those countries in the Central American region, right? Colombia and Mexico, those countries are also there. But these are the major hubs from where drugs are produced and then transported to Europe as well, right? The Central Asia to Europe, right? And in fact, a good part of economy of Taliban also runs through drugs distribution itself. India is one of the victims. And NCB is the one which is trying to control this kind of drug menace in the country. Now, a part of this act, now we come to the act, NDPS Act, NDPS Act 1985. So what does this act say? See, the main aim of this act is to catch, to nab the source of the originator, the originator itself, and not the consumer. The end consumer only has a few grams of this drug, and catching them, the end consumer, and penalizing them is far less rewarding for the NCB as compared to catching the actual person. Can the NCB also treat, in fact this is a recommendation from the government itself, to start treating the end users as the victims rather than the main culprits. They are not the main culprits. The person who is the supplier, the person who is the producer, supplier, importer in India, they are the main culprits. And then they are handlers, and after that they pass on to their agents, and then it comes to the end user. End user is only a victim. This is what the ideal situation should be like. What happens in our country these days is that some people are nabbed. Some people are nabbed, popular people are nabbed, and then cases are built, but this does not reach to the source. What is required is to reach the source, and a huge amount of limelight is gained and the case subsides here itself. People possessing a minimum amount of drugs or may not have even taken drugs. This is what happened in the case that was present few weeks back, right? Now, I will not refuse to say that they are not addicts. I don't know about that. All I'm saying is that they were still not able to nab the source of it. Why? Because the source was really powerful, really powerful. What we require, if we want to eliminate this kind of drug menace in our country, is to eliminate the source. So that is the reason a change is being proposed. A change is being proposed in the NDPS Act to treat the end user as a victim. Okay, so this is one thing that you can mention in your answer, a very, very important suggestion. See, one important provision is that is present here is to first arrest the person and then investigate. First arrest the person, because the situation in which the drug was found, what was the place where it was found, that has to be investigated very much, right? So this is where we are talking of forensics, right? Forensics. What is forensics? So we are using science and technology to be able to understand the crime scene. And drug menace is a crime scene. So if you are using this, then the situation in which this has happened, this all has to be contained, and that is why we have to arrest the person first and then we start investigating, right? So where do we incline towards? We incline towards incarceration of the person rather than bail. Bail is less awarded. They are put in behind the bars before anything. So this is what is This is what happens, and that is the reason that they are called as cognizable offenses. In case you are caught with a drug possession, there will be no warrant, there will be nothing, you will be thoroughly searched, and then you will be taken to the magistrate immediately, right? So all this action has to happen in front of the magistrate, a judicial magistrate who will be able to witness what is happening, right? So do remember that this becomes a cognizable offense. Cognizable offense is the one in which these are serious enough in which the police does not need any warrant. Police will not have to approach the judicial magistrate, get a warrant and do some kind of search and seizure. They find something in possession of your your physical body, your surroundings, and they will take you to the lockup by themselves, right? And there's a wide range of power that has been given to the government authorities, the police authorities. So a person who is just the above of a peon, constable, they on any written note of any person, they can start conducting these search, seizure, and arrest operations also. There are very wide range powers given to those people. Now, if you look at the hindsight, the opposite side of this situation, the people who are popular, they become very, very much prone to vulnerability of this act. Just think logically, even if a person might not have done a thing like this, one can implant these kind of implant these kind of drugs and get them caught. And the kind of powers that the police has got under this are very huge. So the person will not only be behind the bars, they will also be judged as a person who is drug addict for a huge amount of time. And even if that person is not, they can get into depression and maybe later into this issue, right? Now there is another important issue that compounds the problem. What is that? That is the presence of media. So phone, WhatsApp, there is less proof available, but they do incline towards something, they do decline towards some or the other indications, and this results in further complication of the matter. There is less privacy for the person, and these are the kind of issues that Indian public is also grappling with, right? Okay, so certain other challenges that are being faced here for the police also are: one, this is an international crime, this is not a national crime. So the police faces a crime which is beyond their own jurisdiction. Very important, right? Not only beyond that particular state. If it has happened in Mumbai, it can be linked to Delhi, and then it can be linked to Europe as well, Central Asia. What can you do about it, right? So a lot of drug translocation happens through Nigeria in India itself. A lot of it happens through Israel, and a lot of it happens through Russia, openly available in places like Goa, places like Rishikesh and Pushkar, and many other places like that in India. What to do? International ramifications, right? This is one, right? Then it is an organized crime. This is what we do not strike at, the roots of the crime, right? We strike at the end user. This is where certain amendments have been proposed, right? And then securing convictions. Have we been able to convict? The last year case, Sushant Singh Rajput case, there was some drug also involved later on, but we did not secure any convictions. It was very much popular, we all spent our time and efforts watching all that, but nothing happened. And same here, nothing is happening here also. So convictions are also very poor. See, so that is the reason that what is required. See, these are the important suggestions, humanitarian suggestions that can be given, right? So one suggestion is decriminalized, right? So can we replace a person who's been consuming this as a person, can we say that the person was not an addict, but a person with substance use disorder? Can we also give them a second chance to life, second chance to quitting these kind of drugs? Those kind of associations are very new in India. In fact, one of my cousin brothers himself, he was an addict, and he was admitted to Central Institute of Psychiatry, CIP. Right, and there are only two CIPs in India. One is in Agra and the other one is Ranchi. So he was admitted to one of them, and he himself said that all this, if this happens under legal supervision, right? So this is a very controversial statement to make, but he alleged a thing like this. What I am saying is that India does not have adequate structural institutional mechanisms and many other mechanisms to be able to, social mechanisms to be able to give that person the second chance. Merely using the right words can be helped with, and this is what the amendment is about. So do not call them as addict, call them as a person with substance use disorder. This is one. And then for de-addiction, let us have some of these centers running, let us have the family support system, and let us ensure that the person is not called as the accused but the victim, right? If they are put in the jail, they will not come out clear. Whenever they come out, they will again start taking these kind of drugs, right? So family is the first school. This is an important learning for us. Family is the first school. Family can teach us. Right, for the children, the parents need not highlight these kind of drugs in case they are addicted to it to the small children. There should be a social level awareness, right? So when I was small, I was shown all this. The side effects, I never touched it. And we can also learn from other countries, because advanced countries are not only into giving these recreational drugs, but they are also into de-addiction, and they are very far more developed than what we are. They provide human rights to the person who are into this addiction as well. So after having various perspectives, right? See, at the beginning of the discussion, all of you I remember said that this is a menace for the country. But if you can look at the humanitarian aspect, this is an issue for that person also. That person themselves are grappling with a drug issue. So there is an aspect of that human individual as well. There is an aspect for society. There is a legal aspect. There is also international ramification. There is also an economy running around it, right? So do look at all the perspectives while you want to answer this, right? and you can always come down to basic human right while concluding, right, or recommending important changes, right? So let me read out the important comments that you have put here, right? Somebody says, Arpit says golden crescent and golden triangle. Do remember this. If you know how to draw a map, do draw a map in these kind of questions. So recent allegations on NCB made serious questions on its independence. Yes, absolutely. Prejudge the case destroys the image. Yeah, media prejudge. There is a media trial also, right? And it just destroys the case completely. Absolutely. And Robert Downey Jr. got a second chance and he proved it well. Absolutely. They are film stars and there are people in all walks of life, sports person, and they reveal later that Robert Downey Jr. is a good example, the Iron Man. So he said that he quit it, right? And he, Mark Wahlberg himself. So many people who have quit drugs and they have come back very well. And just because they got a good ambient atmosphere, and every human being does deserve that chance, right? Not just penalizing, but recuperating. Now, another good example is the case of small children. If they are involved in stealing, a 12-year-old child, are the perpetrators of the crime or are they victims of society? You tell me. Same is the case with drug menace as well, right? You can look at it from that perspective also. That is not the only perspective, that is one of the perspectives. The more varied your perspectives are, the more marks you will fetch. We will treat all these statements objectively. Anything controversial, we will try to avoid that, right? And if I am presenting something that you find controversial, you might just want to avoid that point because none of us want to get into controversies, not me and not you either in the examination hall, right? All the point I am making is you need to present the answer in a spherical manner so that the examiner knows that the person is able to think multidimensionally, right? Be in the shoes and understand the situation, right? So if you like this initiative, do shower some love on us through likes, comments and shares. Meanwhile, the question for you today is, discuss how the stringent provisions of Narcotics, Drugs, Psychotropic Substance Act 1985 are prone to abuse. See, so can you discuss how these stringent provisions are prone to abuse? So this is where, when you point out the issues with the act, there are various other issues also, society also, right, the person also, and there is influence of company also. Then we have geographic location as well, but there is a role of the act, right? So when we talk of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act, how is it being abused? We will have to focus on these points only, right? You will not be focusing on rest of the answer. There can be 5, 6, 7 question formed from what we have discussed today. One of the aspects only, a small narrow aspect has been asked here. So the answer should focus ideally on this part. You should give examples, present 5, 6 points, right? And then, give examples. This is how your answer will conclude. Okay. So thank you for being with me. Vivek, thank you. Really good. Other side perspective. All right. Good evening, Amlan. Thank you. Welcome, Babani. Welcome, Ashish. Welcome, Preeti. Welcome, Netra. And most importantly, you know what? Having this perspective is great, but just noting down becomes even greater for you, for your own good, because you will have you are committing your time here. I want this to be utilized fully. So while you are here, just spend 5 minutes, thinking about what we spoke, just 5 minutes, and write down those points. That's all I want. And at the end of the month, you will see you will have 23, 24 such important issues covered. Leave about questions. There will be 5, 6 questions from this topic itself, this theme. You will have 5, 6 questions from each theme, and we will have 22 themes at the end of the month. Imagine that. And then 12 months, you will have around 250 themes. So that is the kind of resource I am talking of through featured news, and that is the kind of resource I am talking through the Gazette magazine. So be a participant. Alongside, you will have to prepare notes. That is your gold. That is your gold mine, right? So this is only to discipline. The live video is only for disciplining, and that is your actual gold mine, the notes that you prepare. All right. So keep that in mind, and I will see all of you tomorrow evening. All right. So thank you for participating. Share some love on us. Right. Be a participant. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Khushbu.